I know and those that I have yet to meet, it is always a privilege and an honor to speak at Alameda County Casa's annual inspirational friend and fundraising event. Many of you probably have much more poignant things to say than I, but I do get the floor right now. So thank you for coming to hear our story. If you've joined us tonight, you are a friend. If you believe in the work of supporting foster youth, you are of like mind with me and everyone here. We are meant to be together to work on behalf of the children in our foster care system, to be clear thinkers, to be motivated by doing the right thing in their best interests, to be collaborators, and to exude compassion. What is a court-appointed special advocate? What is the essence of the Casa role and experience? First of all, Casa is a movement. It was started in 1977 from within the judicial courts in an attempt to create a fail-safe, a mechanism built into the system to provide additional support and voice for children in court. Judge David Sokup, from a court in Seattle, intuitively and through his experience on the bench, knew that the system could be problematic. The first problem is systems can't raise children. That's a human job. Second, systems don't always communicate well. Often they are created independent of one another and with different roles. There can be gaps. So Judge Sukup saw a great danger for potential cracks in the overburdened systems of care. Cracks that could open wide, that a child could tumble through, experiencing additional trauma. The Casa experience is one of human compassion through individual attention. Community citizens becoming consistent, caring adults in a child or young person's life during their time in foster care. A community citizen can help see the forest through the trees, standing outside of any one agency with a keen eye for the best interests of the child.
I'm very excited to be here with you today. When John invited me, I was really honored because not only do I know how important Casa is as an organization, being someone who had a Casa advocate before who was instrumental to my life, but I mean, I used to work in the building in San Leandro with the Youth-Led Evaluation Project through California Youth Connection, side by side, seeing the work that they've been doing for decades. So it's an amazing organization, and thank you all for being here and understanding how important it is to support it. So please give yourselves a round of applause. I'm going to do a poem for you fairly quick. It is called Big, Dark, and Smart, and I wrote it in college because I've always saw those three things as negatives. They've always been negatives throughout my life, but I have recently seen just how positive and just how changing those three particular adjectives are to me. We're serving very, I like to say, delicate populations, and they need the nurturing and love so they can see that those things that the world has sometimes cast as negative attributes could actually turn them into truly beautiful beings. So it's called Big, Dark, and Smart. She is the big girl, dark girl, smart girl. She is the big girl, dark girl, smart girl. And if you two have been doomed with such attributes, you'd probably wish not to exist up in this world. Now put your hands up, this is a mass extravaganza. We got panthers, jack-o'-lanterns, even got robotic dancers. Lo and behold, she is the boldest freak show. She got them rolls, them ain't big bones. She barely fits into her clothes. Put down that chicken, KFC got her finger lickings. Where she slick, stay in the kitchen. That's how she got extended inches. But is that an excuse to reduce and abuse one with thickness that they cannot lose? Should worth be contingent on weight? Chubbiness on one's face determines one's fate. Look at exterior, make one feel inferior. Is that to compensate the fear in us? I continue to jeer because we must be delirious if we see perfection within the mirror. And if we ourselves aren't perfect, how can we expect anyone else to be? Big, dark, and smart. Big, dark, and smart. If you're any of these, then you will not get far. Dark girl, don't nobody wanna be a turn the lights off in here, that ain't nobody gonna see her. She sweat is black, is so unattractive. If she had a mask, she'd attach it here and tap it, or do some magic, erase bright and contrast it, or pray to God that one day this dark skin will come in fashion. People talk about her skin as if it's poisonous. Burnt toast, dark roast, antonym of mulatto. Black marker gets no darker, shadow of a shadow's shadow. Now I'm sure most can stand after a while, manage to smile and not pan at the guile, but one can only assume and imagine the damage this does to a child. If we were in Africa, would we laugh at them with the black in them, detract from them with their darkness, somehow show lack in them? Some may refute it, but she thinks her hue is a fusion of her ancestors' roots. It's not just one or two, you know, all shades of colors are beautiful. Hers is too, you know. Big girl, dark girl, smart girl. Big girl, dark girl, smart girl. If this is you, then it ain't your world, so dumb it down. We know where she from. We smoke trees and take rum, and we like to go dumb, so dumb it down. Forget what you heard, this world ain't built for no nerds. No, we don't conjugate verbs, so dumb it down. Don't talk so smart. Slow up on all those big words when she's around these parts. For real, we not hearing it. Need to get up off these lyrics. Hey, we don't use grammar in the hood, period. We steady reading, she was steady reading while the crooks are steady thieving. Politicians let me breathing, and she asked me what I believe in. She thinks this learning fix don't get her out hell's furnace. It don't matter how determined, she ain't ever going anywhere. Whether she plans to see or forced to look down, let go of those fantasies. And I'm telling her to put the books down. My bigness don't define me. My pigment can't confine me, but my intelligence is the very thing that aligns me. I can hide in the literature and they won't find me. They don't expand their minds, then they can't see what I see. My world is filled with analogies and galleries. It's baffling. They're mad at me because they believe in fallacies. In actuality, my mind resides in galaxies where there's no malice and people don't live so callously. I was 5 years old when my grandma said, "You're just a tub of lard, almost as big as that car, but get in the house because I can't afford you getting no darker." And so I did. And as I sit, my Uncle Johnny right beside me, we're both together watching Hooked on Phonics. And it all made sense. Consonants, vowels, A-E-I-O-U. You don't know half of what I've been through. These letters make up words. This will help me increase my worth. My bigness, my pigment. Stop the lineage of being illiterate. My granny said, "You're too big and black, Sade. Get in the house today. You can't come out and play." Who would have been able to see because of her words at 5? I taught myself how to read. This mind is so divine and heaven sent, so no, the entire world can't take away my intelligence. You see, those are the words of a mere skeleton. I am the big girl, dark girl, smart girl. I am the big girl, dark girl, smart girl. And if you too have been blessed to be immaculate, you'll never ever listen to someone else's ignorance. Thank you.
Wow, this is absolutely amazing to see this many people in a room supporting Casa. It's an honor and a privilege to be before all of you today. Actually, I did not turn 18. I am actually 20, just to let everyone know. Okay, so that actually adds 2 additional more years that my Casa and I have been working together. So moving forward with that, I just want to give all of you a brief background about my experience in the foster care system and how Casa has played a significant impact in my life. Growing up, like I had mentioned in the video, my mother, who has joined us here this evening, was very sick and was dying of kidney failure and was struggling very greatly to find a kidney. And, being a young child, having to take care of a family when your mother is extremely ill is very difficult for me. And there wasn't much family support in the area, so it definitely became a red flag to many professionals, teachers, and other people that were surrounding me at that young age. And so years that went by, once I hit that preteen years, I just became very rebellious and decided to, I'm going to do this my way. And it didn't work out too well, that method. So I was removed, and I was placed into Southern California with my father. And he had his difficult challenges himself, and which he is still overcoming. And it created a huge barrier for the both of us to overcome as a family reuniting. And those barriers, unfortunately, were so high that I think it requires a much more time than the time that was allotted to him and I to repair those challenges. And so I was removed from his home after a few years after being there. And that was when I was in my freshman year in college. I was removed again and placed into emergency foster care in Southern California. And throughout the duration of time that I was residing with my father, my only desire was to go back home to my mother. I also have a twin brother who stayed here to reside with my mother. And that separation caused a lot of friction in our family. And we are currently still repairing all of that. So I'm very nervous to share my story with all of you today, okay? So I'm really appreciating everyone having opened the ears to this. So I was removed again, and prior to me being removed, I was highly involved in high school. I was in journalism, extracurricular activities, very social, and once that removal came, it disrupted my whole entire world, and it was very difficult to find that ambition, to find that hope that things will move on and things will change. And so I actually had asked the judge at that time, within the duration of time I was in Southern California in foster care, to relocate me back up here to the Bay Area with my mother and twin. And so he did. And at that time, there was no, I did not have any CASA representation. I don't think that Riverside County necessarily had an established CASA program, or maybe it was, I don't know what happened there. But that time in my life would have been a critical moment to have the advocacy of a CASA, because my desires may have not been entirely in my best interest. And so that is the premise of what a CASA does, is to advocate for the youth that are in the foster care system who are struggling to not be defined by all the parameters and that society places around them. And so I proceeded to move back up here to the Bay Area, and unfortunately I was placed back in foster care within that year. And that, I was 16 at the time, and now I'm 16, a sophomore in high school, and 150 credits behind. There was no hope that I was going to graduate or to receive a diploma, or that I was going to go anywhere with my life. I felt that I was becoming another ratio of this system. But luckily, one day I was sitting in a court hearing, and my lawyer was sitting beside me, and she decided to tell me. She said, "Hey, Kayla, would you perhaps be interested in something called a court-appointed special advocate?" And I said, "Oh, no." What? A court-appointed special advocate? No. By this point in my life, I was pretty fed up with any other government agency or service provider that was to come help me. And being that my attorney is so persistent and convincing, she followed me all the way to my car, and trying to persuade me that I definitely needed to get a CASA. And so, it didn't take much, and so I said, okay, sure, I'll get a CASA. And within a few months, I was at school, surprisingly, and I was called up to the office. As I'm approaching the office, I was baffled. I was like, man, there must be a social worker coming to see me to check on my attendance. Oh boy, I'm thinking of plenty of excuses to justify why I was at school, and I was just preparing myself for this altercation. And so I get to the office, and there's two ladies, one lady, a very warm, loving lady, and there was another lady that had flip-flops on and like a floral t-shirt with her hair put back, and I was like, okay, hold on. You're not a social worker, are you? And she's like, and she approached me with such enthusiasm, and she was like, hi, I'm Sarah, and it's a pleasure to meet you. You must be Kayla. I read your file. Oh no, read my file? I'm surprised you're here. And and so Sarah and I continued to talk, and apparently there was a commonality between her and I, which was she's a rowing coach at Mills College, and I'm, as you saw, my tutu and me playing softball. And so we immediately had that in common. And so it was a great icebreaker between her and I to share that commonality. And so at this point, she was like, well, I also reviewed your transcripts, and it appears that you are quite behind in credits, Missy. And I said, well, yeah, just a little bit. And she was like, well, we're going to get you into a new school. And I said, okay. And within that month, it was an entire 180. She had it was entirely all the behind the scenes work. I did not see any of this, but she advocated for me and collaborated with a lot of different people so I could change schools, so I could reallocate all those credits I was deficient in. And within that time, I changed schools, so I went to an independent study program to reallocate the 180 credits now that I was behind, and graduated on time with an accredited diploma. Thank you. And I can confidently stand here today before all of you and say that there would be no way that I would have received that diploma without the help of my Casa. Sarah has done so much for me in the short amount of time that I have known her, and it is amazing how one adult can be such a consistent, supportive person and make strides of change in your life. And so for that, I'm forever grateful for you and being by my side, Sarah. Thank you. Okay. So now I graduated high school. Oh my goodness, the best thing that ever happened to me yet. And at this time I was facing AB 12, which I don't know if any of you are familiar with, but it is the extension of foster care until the age of 21. And with AB 12, I was in this phase of transitioning into my shared apartment with another foster youth. And I had a lot of fears around that. I was going to be independent with another foster youth in an apartment all alone, and with no idea of how to cook. And so I was absolutely terrified that I was going to turn into this prototype of the Super Size Me guy, and it was just not an intriguing factor to me. I thought that I was going to survive off of McDonald's for the rest of my life. But Sarah to the rescue, she did not allow that to happen, and she was determined to come to my house every Sunday and prepare a good old meal with me and bake dessert. So now, thanks to Sarah, I can confidently cook and bake dessert and a good dinner without burning down the house. That's always a plus. So, those were just some examples of how Sarah's been able to provide some life experience tools that I need to be an adult, to functioning adult in society. But as far as education goes, which I think Sarah has played the most instrumental part in my academic career, she is very, very adamant on how important education is and how much you need it in this world. And so there would be no way that I would be going to school right now pursuing something that is very challenging without Sarah. I remember this one time, her and I were at a coffee shop, which I used to work at, and we're studying for, I don't know if it was the SATs or a math placement exam, and I got so frustrated with this math, and I was ready to throw my laptop as I have a temper tantrum because I could not figure out this equation. And Sarah's like, Kayla, you need to breathe and you need to take a break. So we went outside, took a break, and she didn't, and we came back. So we regathered ourselves. Well, I regathered myself, and we came back. And she continued to help me, and she was determined to help me, no matter how much teeth pulling she had to do, or re-explaining she had to do. She was patient, and she was there. And that has led me to not let that challenge of math, right, be a barrier to my career or be a barrier to my life. And that's something that, you know, in the speeches that I've heard this evening, is that's one thing that I've heard quite a bit, was not letting the institution define who you are or be a setback. And that's why CASAs are so amazing, is because they're there to delegate that. And you know, I've had so many blessings with CASA, you know, and being a participant and having a CASA in my life. It's a support system, it's an outlet, it's a humor. You know, Sarah and I have great times together. We go out to eat. We go explore colleges. We study. We eat a lot of eating, a lot of eating, which is great. You know. So, in conclusion, today I'm, like the video had mentioned, I'm going to Ohlone College and majoring in bioengineering. I was recently accepted into an accelerated math program, which is. It's been a great experience thus far. And as far as my capacity with my work with CASA, I'm currently on the CASA Speaks Youth Training Panel, and I recruit and I go out and promote our program and speak at different organizations and try to bless everyone's presence with why CASA is so amazing. And I hope that I've been able to accomplish that this evening. And I really would love to encourage everyone to please donate to our organization, because your proceeds would carry so much weight in the lives of foster youth around your community, and it's essential. It is an essential part of being an individual, human. And so, yeah, and I love my work with CASA. I think it's a great way to fulfill my humanitarian needs, and I'm excited to see what the future holds. Also, recently CASA has gone through a 3-year strategic planning process, in which John had determined that, you know, after evaluating all the counterparts of this organization, we realized that there really wasn't too much of youth's voice being incorporated into the program. So we thought about it, and we brainstormed, how could we incorporate more of youth, former and current foster youth's voice into the program? And from that sprouted the idea of having a youth advisory board, in which John and I are working with another former foster youth, Roy Mara, working on currently, and I'm really excited to see where that leads us. So that is what I'm doing currently in my journey, and I am really honored again to have be here before all of you, and I'm really glad that you are all supporting a nonprofit organization that is